Good day. This is a CFP Board-Registered Programs Spring 2016 webinar. I'm Dr. Charles Chaffin, Director of Academic Programs and Initiatives at CFP Board. I appreciate your attendance today. If you are listening to this live, I encourage you to ask questions at the very end of this. If you are listening to a recording of this via the CFP Board site, I encourage you to share with your faculty colleagues as well as watch the webinar, the Academic Home webinar, which is also posted on the Center for Financial Planning website, which is embedded within these slides. So for today, we've got a number of things to talk about. I'll give another overview of CFP Board Registered Program statistics, talk about the Certification Completion Initiative reports, as well as a general overview of registered program renewal, I'll say trends or perhaps issues, education verifications, and then talk about our two events happening in 2017, the 2017 Registered Program Conference, as well as mentioned, the 2017 Academic Research Colloquium for Financial Planning and Related Disciplines. So just to give an overview of our registered programs, we currently have 383. 136 baccalaureate programs, 191 certificate level, 51 master's, and 5 doctoral programs. 42 additional programs beyond those numbers are currently at some stage of development, and that could be anywhere from the institution beginning a conversation about the possibility all the way up to, if it's a full-fledged major, that it's going through the campus approval process, or it's sitting on my desk and we haven't approved it yet. I should mention too that there is a recorded webinar on a site for prospective programs, and that's not necessarily prospective institutions. So if you're thinking about developing another program relative to different program type or delivery method or whatnot, I encourage you to watch that, or feel free to email the department at registeredprograms@cfpboard.org to get more information on that webinar. Program type is pretty split. With a little bit more on the degree side. That's been a big shift for CFP Board within the past 6 years. We were at pretty close to 58% certificate programs in 2010, and now at 49%. I think that we'll talk about number of graduates and whatnot. I think it's just coming from the growth in the degree area, not necessarily a change in our focus. We are agnostic relative to program type and delivery method, but I think that the market has created that change. So relative to that, the total number of programs are up around 15% since 2010. Looking at the list of attendees, many of you represent some of that growth. And during a time where it's no secret that our standards, our requirements for registered programs have become far more rigorous. In 2010, it was the review letter was a one-page document essentially outlining trademark issues, and now review letters are averaging around 4 pages. And with that is talking about a lot of different, lots of data and self-assessment and all those things. And not to mention a capstone course requirement, right, from 2012 and that verification. So we've worked together to raise the standards, and with that has come great growth, and we're very pleased with the work that we've been able to do together so far. So within that 42 of programs in development, again, this is the trend that we continue to see, right? It's still happening at the predominantly at the baccalaureate level, 77%, some at the master's level, and a little bit at the certificate and doctoral level. There are a couple of caveats to this data here. The one element is that the certificate program level, the process tends to be a little bit faster for program development, and that I'm not necessarily involved in that as much. I'm not invited to be involved with that as much. Sometimes I am, and we're always happy to participate. But that's the one caveat there. The certificate program element, we've done more work in restructuring those programs, I think, in the past 6 years than anything, and thinking about ways to make it more marketable, thinking about incorporating the learning objectives to be a little bit more precise about course length, that instead of just saying, uniformly every course is going to be 45 contact hours, lots of certificate programs now are saying, well, we're spending more time meeting the learning objectives for investment, so it's a little bit longer, and we're spending less time on estate planning or insurance or whatnot. It being a little bit more precise to try to help with retention, to try to help make the program more marketable, whatnot. I'm not suggesting that the course length for those examples should be that, but I would say understanding your student profile could help make decisions like that. So nevertheless, we see program growth happening at the baccalaureate level mostly, at least currently, and that's been, as I said, that's been the trend. So I just want to recognize some of the new programs that have launched in 2015 and 2016. I'm not going to read them all, but great partners everywhere from at the baccalaureate level, programs housed within family and consumer sciences, business schools, ag econ is also represented here, and everything from concentrations to specializations to tracks all the way to minors and full-fledged majors. Even on this screen here, there are 2 full-fledged majors, and not always the easiest route to go, but certainly lots of advantages to go through that process. So we're really excited to be welcoming some of these new partners on this list. And the program and development, I mean, I'm looking at some of these folks. It's been 5 years, over 5 years, in getting the programs through, and it's been a great journey working with faculty, many of which are on this webinar to see the program to fruition. So we're excited to bring these new partners on board. Definitely diverse, diversity relative to Research One institutions, to some smaller private schools, to regional state institutions and whatnot. It's definitely a diverse group, and we're happy to see that diversity. On the certificate program side, lots of programs that are developing that tend to be classroom-based or hybrid, with using some element of blended instruction, classroom-based and distance ed, which I think makes a lot of sense on a lot of levels. And quite frankly, I think from a resource perspective, not a requirements perspective, but from a resource perspective, I think I would like to see more certificate programs going that direction, because I think it can accommodate more learners and perhaps see more students going through the finish line and seeing program completion rates go up. Graduate programs, a few. We are, I think, I know there are some institutions that are especially some deans within colleges or schools within an institution that aren't real excited about cross-listing courses at the graduate level. I highly recommend it if you can do it. I mean, it's certainly an element of critical mass to cross-list a 400 and 500 level course, and whether it's writing intensive or whatnot, it could certainly bring some great critical mass to the program. I think that the MBA market is somewhere that we're expanding. It's been an interesting journey with the MBAs, because in 2010 my sense was that the MBA was just was something that financial planning wasn't going to touch at any level. And given the market right now and how competitive it is, even some strong Research One institutions almost offering tuition-free MBAs. I mean, almost. faculty have seen an opportunity to create more versatility for graduates of MBA programs. So our area at the graduate level has been MS, but we're seeing growth at the MBA level as well, and I think that could be very, very healthy. Although the three on this list are not MBAs, but we're definitely seeing growth relative to the MBA area, and I think you're going to see a bigger list of those coming in the next several years. So in 2015 and the first few months of 2016, we've had 30 new registered programs at 28 different institutions. That's a lot of new relationships with new institutions that we haven't had before. And then some who, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit, some who have, I think, streamlined their registration with us, which I think has been helpful from a student accessibility perspective. You can see the breakdown there, and we've got 10 that are currently under review that I fully expect to be approving within the next few months for sure. So talking about this element of data, and we're exchanging more data, and that's designed to help us. It's designed to help us help you, and it's designed to help you, and certainly your graduates going through the program. Just as a quick review, I think most of you are aware of this, but we have a lot of new partners listed here, I see. The Certification Completion Initiative is designed to provide data to you all and us regarding your graduates' progress relative to several stages of CFP certification, and it really isn't. They're not formal stages. I should be clear about that. I mean, we have one designation, but essentially the four areas, the four benchmarks, however you want to describe it, are establishing a CFP board account, sitting for the exam, passing the exam, and that one is not necessarily passing it, the first time, but the graduate passing it at some point. The first time, third time, you can take it up to 5 times, so 5th time. So therefore, it's not the pass rate. And then obviously the percentage of graduates who have ultimately become certified. So this is important, certainly for what we're doing, but I think it's helpful, certifications continue to take on a larger role within academia. I think you're all aware of that. We see it from not only certainly from AACSB, we see it with their new requirements from 2013, and in ACBSP for those of you that are accredited with them, but even the regional accreditors. And so this is another data point, and it's important, certainly thinking about having a quantitative metric on your campus, but it's also important as quite frankly, a program effectiveness tool relative to the first 2 categories. So it is essentially what in our policy, we look at the percentage of graduates who have established an account with us, and the percentage of graduates who have sat for the exam, and that's where our policy lies relative to registered program oversight. We don't hold our programs accountable relative to the percentage that pass the exam or become certified. Those are, at best, indirect measures of program effectiveness. They're certainly important variables. There's no question about that. But there are other elements associated, whether or not one of your graduates becomes certified, and certainly whether someone takes a review course or not. But obviously, we encourage that. So, relative to the data element of the CCI, so this is the second time I've presented this data to you all publicly, but I think it's important to look at. So this is the total number of certificate program graduates in the last 4 years. We started this in 2012, and so we've been able to, based upon the graduation date that you all post as far as the upload process, these are the number of graduates. So obviously you see the 2012 element, which probably has something to do with the curriculum change, right? And again, that's not because there were a bunch of past graduates that were submitted at 2012 because we didn't have the system. It was folks that were identified as graduates of a program in 2012. So the grandfather clause, for those of you that have just joined this partnership in the past few years, we had the capstone course curriculum change, and obviously with a curriculum change, you're going to grandfather students in, and so that created that high mark there. And then we've seen, close to a 10% growth of total number of graduates in the certificate programs, pretty consistently now, I guess, 2 years in a row. So we're real happy about that. And there's something there, there's a market element there too, right? So that it is, our total number of certificate programs has been relatively stagnant. I mean, in the past 6 years, it's kind of been a zero-sum game, quite frankly. But the total number of graduates is has certainly risen in the past couple of years, which suggests that some of our programs, well, it's obvious, and looking at the other data that we're getting, that are seeing a higher level of enrollment there. So the total number of baccalaureate program graduates, you see, obviously this is a much lower number than the certificate programs, right? And we're starting to see, we saw a huge spike between 2014 and 2015 relative to a couple of factors. The first factor is we're seeing all these new programs, they're starting to produce graduates. The second thing is that our baccalaureate programs, our degree programs in general, quite frankly, are now submitting the names of their graduates and not the names of their graduates who they think are going to move forward with certification, which is really, really important. So it's important that we get all the names of the graduates and that are going through the program of study, and there are processes by which you internally can make sure that you're tracking these students and whatnot, but it's really critical that we get the names, and I think our programs are doing a better job of that. I think we still have some issues. We start getting phone calls from 2 and 3 different students from the same institution that their name hasn't been uploaded. That's an issue, and requires action on our part in communicating back to the institution and the chief academic officer to make sure that we're sharing good data with one another. But nevertheless, I think we've made progress here, and looking at initial numbers for early 2016, I expect that we're gonna have very positive numbers moving forward as well. So by breakdown here of graduates by program type, you can see 2015 we saw an increase in up to 17% of graduates coming from a degree program. So I didn't break down the master's or doctoral level graduates on here, but essentially we've gone from 14 to 17% at the degree level, with again the overwhelming majority coming from the certificate programs. So talking about this element of targets. So if you renewed in 2015, or you were required to, your deadline was up till the end of April, you've already experienced this. Essentially, you now have the CCI. The first 2 variables again are now part of the registered program renewal process. You have to document that. You can go onto the site. It's updated monthly, where it's password protected. You go into that site, and you can look at your percentage of your graduates. You document that in your renewal, and then you got an issue a target. Where do you want it to be in 2 years relative to getting a count or sitting for the exam? For averages, you can see for certificate programs, the average for all the programs that have renewed so far is 14.61% for establishing an account. Now, I will tell you, and I didn't share the national averages. You all that are certificate programs, you have those, but they're obviously much higher than the degree area. The average target increase for sitting for the exam for graduates, the target's around 13% right now. For baccalaureate programs, there is a lot more room for growth. The average target for establishing an account is 28%. The average target increase for graduates sitting for the exam is 11.5%. So again, this is the average target for in 2 years where these 2 program types want to be. Couple of important points. The first one, obviously, you need to document how you're going to do that. So how are you going to increase the numbers? Are you going to have more practitioner engagement? For establishing an account, I mean, I don't see any reason why that can't be a requirement at the beginning of the program of study, saying, you need to get an account. establishing an account, they now get one thing we changed last year is that individuals now get a printout when they establish an account with us. So, you can document that. They can bring it in with their name. It says they've got established an account, and it's done. The other element to this, too, is, be thoughtful about the targets you're establishing. Obviously, you want something that's going to be reasonable. This is a great opportunity to talk with your department chair or your chief academic officer about perhaps getting some resources, whether it's speakers, whether it's some engagement with practice, going to conferences, whatever it might be, to help with those goals. Because, deans tend to move better with quantitative metrics, and this helps. It helps a lot. But be reasonable about what those should be. I will tell you that if your institution is at 85 or 90% of the graduates have an account, and it's a robust number of graduates sitting for the exam, and the target is 0, that may be understandable. But anything less than that, I'm not approving a program that has a 0 or less than target for those two metrics. Now, if there are extenuating circumstances, I'm always happy to have a conference call scheduled and talk about it. But it's really important that we be working together to try to increase these metrics. And these metrics have been ways to, some of you have come to me with some internal issues relative to structure and whatnot, and we've been pretty successful with engaging leadership within the departments to talk about ways to provide more resources or whatnot to improve in these areas. And obviously I'm happy to do that, and I'm happy to always advocate on the part of the program, but we definitely want to be thoughtful, and I think we all share that these are very important metrics. So talking about renewals for 2015 and 2016. So the self-assessment's longitudinal, which means you really should be getting your review letter from the department long before your renewal is due. It used to be that you probably could pull a late night and get it done a day or two before the deadline. You can't do that now, and so I would suggest getting the previous review letter from me, getting that from the department 6 months out, or at minimum 3 months out, so you can review where are the areas of strength, where are the areas of improvement beyond requirements and whatnot, and then take it from there as far as how documenting what improvement have you made. And it's perfectly reasonable, to say in a self-assessment now, we really did have these goals and we thought they were important, but we don't really have the staff or structure to make these things happen. That's great. That's important. I could document that in the letter and maybe help some of you advocating in some of those areas. But being thoughtful and thinking about this longitudinally is really, really important. So the capstone course learning objectives is the one that keeps coming up. So the 7 LOs have got to be in the syllabus, and you've got to have those in the syllabus, and then you're assessing for those in the rubric. LOs 6 and 7 don't have to necessarily be assessed in the rubric. I think I don't have a position on that. They don't have to be, but the LOs need to have a presence there. It's really important. When I say faculty transitions here, because what I'm seeing is that somebody else teaches the capstone course, and then they change the syllabus, and it doesn't have the LOs, and then your program renewal gets bogged down. So I would encourage those of you taking a leadership position within your program, make sure the LOs are there. Again, we believe in that element of what and how. These are the LOs. How you meet those is up to you, but they have to have a presence there. The other LO document with the 220 learning objectives, that's a resource, but those 7 in the capstone are required. Enrollment data, this is, we've been very successful for the most part with this new requirement for enrollment data. We use the Department of Ed nomenclature for both gender and categories for gender and race. I know that this is a challenge, particularly for those of you that have concentration, specializations, and tracks. I know it's an issue in trying to define matriculation and midpoint of enrollment. We open that up. I want you to define, particularly that midpoint. I know it's a challenge there, but quite frankly, we've got to do it, and it's important that if the element of hearing from an institution that we have no idea who's in the program also suggests to me that there's an issue when it comes to student advising. So I'm happy to work with you. Our programs are incredibly diverse, and so I hear new challenges every day that you all are bringing forward. I try to work with you, but saying we have no idea is a difficult answer to address. You can define those elements, and I'm happy to work with you on them. The CCI data, again, I think it's been very successful. I applaud the work that for both these categories, enrollment data and CCI data. Institutions are being really thoughtful. I really appreciate reading what you're sharing as far as ideas, particularly at the CCI level. And the great part about all of that is, by the way, that when we announced the CCI, which was in the 2013 conference, most of you came to me either at the conference or via email saying, we're excited to get this. We're excited to know how our students are doing, our graduates are doing, and we welcome it. So it's been a very good collaborative process. We have a template press release that you're getting that I think are getting lost in the emails because some of you are using them and passing them off down the hall to folks that handle communication within your department or college or school. But I encourage you to go ahead and take advantage of that. And then finally, if there are other things that you want to share as part of your self-assessment, you have an other category there, essentially share it. And I think it's important. I think of all the adjunct faculty that we have leading our programs. We don't have a ton anymore, but we still have quite a few. I really see my role as obviously it's an oversight role and a resource role, but advocating for some of those folks that never get in to see the dean, right? Let's build a strong letter, and the more information you send us, first of all, we're going to read it. We'll read everything you send, and let's build a strong letter, and let's help use that letter to help you do your work better. And I think that's the part where this goes from an oversight process to a partnership process. It's hard to advocate if we're not being clear and thoughtful about what we're sending in and what we're sharing with one another. So I just want to talk about a couple of elements of strategies. So the first element of retention, I'm going to talk about the retention project that we talked about last year at the Registered Program Conference. Retention is, I don't think this is going to be a surprise to anyone listening to this. Retention is an issue that's not going away. And I would be shocked and amazed if retention wasn't part of a CFP board policy very, very soon. So how are you thinking about retention, whether you're a certificate program or a degree program? Now, it tends to be that our challenges, I'll paint it on the optimistic side, the certificate programs do a really great job at the pipeline element. Once they get through the program, they've got an account, a large number of the graduates, they sit for the exam and move towards for certification. It's a very linear focus. On the degree side, usually, and again, I'm painting with a very broad brush, but usually the retention for the program is usually not as much of an issue. The issue is the CCI side, whereas retention is more of an issue on the certificate program side. So where we end up with retention in a few years, who knows? But I could certainly envision a scenario where there's more public data regarding retention. Your regional accreditors are talking about more public data regarding retention, and many of the discipline-based accreditors are moving in that direction too. I'm not here announcing that today, but what I am saying is you all are getting hit with retention issues on your campus, and we're thinking about it too. And so, what are those strategies? The element of touch points and engaging folks as they go through the program is really important. Marketing for the certificate programs, I hear about marketing all the time and know that marketing budgets are an issue. But what can you do to build a footprint that's going to help you with awareness and marketing of your program relative to an advisory board, relative to engaging past graduates? Some programs, I think, have done a really nice job of developing a certificate program that's supporting the baccalaureate program, right? You build, and vice versa. You kind of build that you build that footprint where certificate program grads are actually hiring your baccalaureate program grads, and you kind of develop this this really nice footprint that's kind of feeding off one another, which I think could be helpful. Is your adopted delivery method working for your students? I mean, that sounds very basic, but we have a lot of certificate programs that don't ask a lot of questions of perspective or of students who first enrolled in the program. And I think it could be helpful to look at that. We've done several modifications to delivery method and work together on best practices, and I'm happy to get involved with that. But to find something that's going to work within your market. I mean, you may be in a place where students are able to drive 10 or 15 minutes to get to your campus and want a classroom-based program. Or you may be in a big city where they want to know who their classmates are, but they don't want to see them every session, and so something blended works better. But thinking about that, I think, is important. So on the degree side, access to your program is pretty critical, and there are several of you that are on this webinar right now that I would encourage you to think about a cross-campus certificate. Now, it's a degree program, but it has an access point for students across campus, which is really, really great. Whether you do it as a minor or not, sometimes I think you develop the critical mass first, and then you think about going through the, you do a concurrent swim lane of going through the approval process of developing a major or minor later. But I think a cross-campus certificate can bring greater critical mass to your program, and certainly thinking about all of the employment opportunities out there, it's an easier sell, especially if you're talking about relationships and helping people and all the great things that financial planning brings. Now, it's important to note with that cross-campus certificate that you want to register that separately. And the reason for that isn't because of the $12.50 you pay CFP Board. We don't even break even on that. But the reason for that is because you're getting data back, right? You're getting data back relative to the CCI, and they're very separate elements. If you have a baccalaureate program in the finance department registered with us, and you want to do a cross-campus certificate, you may have very different requirements for the students to relative to within the business school and outside of the business school, and you want to take that into consideration. Similarly, if you're in family and consumer sciences, and you may be able to have a heavier focus on communication with your major or even a minor or a concentration or whatever, than if you offered a cross-campus certificate that may just have six 3-credit classes. So something to just think about there. Share the LOs with faculty. This goes for all programs. I know that they're not going to necessarily change everything they're doing because you share the LOs, but I think it would be helpful, and that was one of the main reasons why we designed the LOs in 2011, and then we revised them last year based upon the new principal topic list. Those LOs are used as a guide for the item writers, as a tool for them, not a guide, let's say a tool for them in terms of the development of the CFP exam. And so they have greater weight. Share them. At least they can be aware of how their content relates to the LOs and the content within personal financial planning. Using financial literacy courses as a recruitment instrument. For many of you, I know this is the lifeblood of your program. Ideally, it happens at the 200 level. It's a sophomore course. Basic financial literacy is in it, and then, by the way, this is a career, and you have the right person teaching it, it can really be the lifeblood of the program. So if you can fight the GE battle, which I know is a huge fight, but if you can fight that and win and get the cap enrollment at a pretty robust rate and get the right person teaching it, your recruitment can start to happen on its own. So I encourage you to do that, and it's certainly thinking about a student FPA chapter as well can really help kind of recruit things on their own. And then kind of driving the conversation with firms, but thinking about, are they going to support your students relative to certification? Are the internships thoughtful? and is there a good career path for graduates? And I know those are things that many of you are talking about with firms, and I think that makes all the sense in the world. So just a reminder relative to education verifications. I mentioned this is a requirement. The education verification deadline for the July exam is June 28th. You see the link there for ed verification, and if you have issues or you have other folks that need to be have their password, need to get a username or password, contact Nancy at registeredprograms@cfpboard.org, and she'll be happy to help you. So the 2017 CFP Board Registered Program Conference is bringing practice to theory. It's happening February 9th and 10th of 2017. So there is no 2016 Registered Program Conference. We announced that last year, but those of you that didn't know that, we moved it from August to February. So instead of relying on air conditioning in August, we're going to rely on heat in February. It fits within the academic calendar. It's something that many of you have asked about, and it fits within the academic calendar of many of you. I should make sure I take everyone into consideration. But I think that it fits well within kind of the financial planning calendar, and we're really excited to have it here in DC once again. So very similar format for this conference in itself, certainly talking about trends, best practices. Experiential learning is a key element. It's something that we're talking about in reviews. It's what we're talking about when I'm on your campus, and I think it's important whether you're a classroom-based or online platform or something in between. We continue to talk about requirements. The Firms Day has been a great success. It's something that you all are excited about, so we're going to do it again. And we'll go through the whole matching process and everything that we did in previous last 2 years. We'll do it once again for the 2017 conference. We opened registration last week, and you can see we're actually at Arlington, so we're literally next door to the to Washington National Airport. In fact, you can see the runway from the hotel. It's that close. I hope it's not loud, but it seems to be. It's a great facility. Registration is open. You go to cfp.net/conference. We have an early bird discount until July 15th, and I'm going to talk about the colloquium in a second. It's going to happen the same week, but we'll be sending the call for proposals out for the Registered Program Conference right after the call for papers deadline closes for the colloquium. So that'll happen right after Labor Day. And again, there's no 2016 conference in August. Happy to get together with some of you over the phone or visit, but we won't have a conference in 2016. So mentioning that, if you haven't gotten a chance to watch the academic home webinar, if you're listening to this live, the academic home webinar will be posted in the next few days to our website. Please share that with faculty. But the Academic Research Colloquium for Financial Planning and Related Disciplines is February 7th through the 9th, so that's in the same hotel, but immediately before the Registered Program Conference. So it is designed so that the stress on travel budgets can be limited, and folks can come to make one round-trip airfare and come to two events. And I should point out, which I don't think is in these slides, is that we are, for this conference, we'll have opportunities for registered programs to interview for open faculty positions during this time. And I'll talk more specifically about that process as we go down the road. But we're hoping that you'll come in on the 7th. This conference, the colloquium, will start at noon on Tuesday the 7th, and it'll run until noon on Thursday the 9th, and then right after that, registration opens for the Registered Program Conference, and it runs until 4 p.m. on the 10th. So I hope you come in on Tuesday morning and you leave Friday afternoon and attend both events. So the colloquium is part of the academic home for the Center for Financial Planning. It is the Academic Research Colloquium is in cooperation with FPSB as well as FPSC in Canada, and bringing international researchers in the disciplines and sub-disciplines related to financial planning. So not just, but not only estate planning, tax and investments, and communication and counseling, but also behavioral finance, sociology, even thinking about pedagogy and whatnot. So it's a very broad group of researchers that are going to be sending papers in. For more information, you have the information about the webinar that'll be posted, and you could also visit centerforfinancialplanning.org/ARC. So again, same spot. The early bird discount for this also runs July 15th, and you can register for both events. There's a discount to register for both events, so we're offering a discount, so you'll stay with us the whole week. And so here's our calendar. You can see kind of how it works there, Tuesday to Friday. It should be a great week. We're excited about this. This is the product of engaging you all and thinking about some of the areas that we can expand into to help you do your work better, and certainly advance financial planning as a discipline, advanced CFP certification. So we're very excited about this. If you want to get involved with this or you have questions, registered programs at cfpboard.org. I'm always happy to talk with you and talk about ways for you to get involved. So talking about retention, we were very excited to announce at the 2015 Registered Program Conference the collaboration with the American College, the College for Financial Planning, and Kaplan School of Professional and Continuing Education, the supplemental resource to improving student retention. Now, it says certificate programs, but a lot of this is applicable to degree programs as well. It's available on our website. I encourage institutions to suggest in their renewals that they're adopting some of these elements: instructional activities, non-instructional activities, even thinking about admission requirements, student assessment. All of those elements, they're free to use, and certainly encourage you to take advantage of all of those. We were excited to announce the several years ago partnership between the University of Illinois and Coursera to develop a massive open online course, a MOOC, Financial Planning for Young Adults, which is going to open in May. The 7 modules relative to basic, or 6 of those are relative to basic elements of financial literacy, and then 1 is financial planning as a career. Lots of video vignettes, short lectures. It's designed for it's quite frankly designed for a 16 to 23-year-old. It's very fast-moving, nothing long, and lots of vignettes. There's even opportunity discovery sessions between a client and planner, and many of those things can be repurposed with permission from the University of Illinois and whatnot. But we're real excited to be for this course to be opening next month, and you can visit Coursera.org to get on the watch list for that, and then again, and then register for it when May comes around. So the Career Center, encourage, again, you've got the CCI element, but encourage your students to establish a CFP board account and to upload their resumes. Right, as of yesterday, there are 78 employers with at least 1 position that's posted on the Career Center site. So I encourage you to get your students they got to get an account, and then they can upload their resumes. But I encourage them to take advantage of that. And as we announced last year, the Career Center offers free postings for all faculty positions within board-registered programs. So take advantage of that. And we see that as an important resource to our programs. Dr. Lisa Andrews is the manager of the Career Center, and I encourage you to contact her if you've got any questions. But I definitely think there's opportunities to drive students to that site. CFP Board is excited to once again partner with Ameriprise and FPA in the Financial Planning Challenge. You can see the competition timeline, team registration deadline, and the Phase 1 submission is May 16th. And then you can see the other elements there that are part of this, and we're real excited to once again collaborate on essentially what is a process for the financial plan development course or capstone course requirement. Thanks to Ameriprise, the top 3 teams are going to get their travel paid for to come and present at next year's Registered Program Conference. So we're excited about that, and I think that's a great opportunity, and certainly grateful to Ameriprise for supporting that. The one additional incentive for students to not only participate but to do well. But we're excited to once again collaborate on that effort. I'm going to take about 3 minutes so you can type in your questions, and then I'll answer them. So I'll be back in just a couple of minutes. All right, I'm coming back early. You keep typing your questions. I'm getting quite a few here, so I'm going to go ahead and start answering them. But feel free to I can keep populating the list here with questions. So regarding the slide deck, so the slide deck will be shared with the webinar and posted. We send an announcement out once it's posted to the site, and so you'll get the full webinar and be able to share it. It usually happens within, I guess, around a week or so, but we'll be sending out that announcement soon. Next question. The question is thank you for delivering this informative webinar. Well, thank you for attending. Just a clarified question, you don't evaluate programs based on the percentage of program graduates that pass the CFP board exam. That is correct. So, we see a distinction there between the program quality and the pass rate. Do you anticipate that this policy will change in the future? No, don't. I think the biggest policy changes that may be coming again are relative to the first two metrics of the CCI and retention. And again, I'm not announcing anything here, but I think I could see a scenario where there are elements there that even could get some element of optional transparency for retention, and maybe even CCI that programs could adopt, could essentially voluntarily say, we want to go through a process where our numbers are public. But I can see that happening soon, but not relative to the pass rate. I don't see that happening. Can the CCI be updated to only include data for the last 2 to 3 years, going back to 2012? Yeah, it's a good question. It's something that we're looking at. I think we've got, we still categorize it as initial data. It probably isn't anymore, right? I mean, we're getting to that point that, now we're at 2012 to 2016. That's a pretty large size. I think, there's going to come a point soon where we're going to need to go ahead and chop off 2012. It's a pretty, the folks that are, going to establish an account that graduated in 2012, they're done. They're probably not, there'll be a few, but most of them are, it is what it is. So your point is well taken. It's something that I'm thinking about, and we'll be looking at going ahead and starting from 2013 or maybe even 2014 here very soon. Appreciate that comment. I definitely agree. The enrollment data section is for our CFP program only and not the institution. That's correct. So it's just for your CFP Board-Registered Program and not the entire institution. You have on this slide the email address if you want to set up a call. Happy to talk with you. Always happy to help in any way that I can. We have a shared objective, and it's always a pleasure working with all of you. So for those of you that are finishing your, I have a little bit of another question here. Yeah, that's right. I mean, the vast majority of people who sit for the exam come to certificate program. That is true. Do you think they're there needs to be different exam prep guides for degree program graduates. Well, I mean, we don't believe that our education requirement is exam prep. Not at all, right? I mean, that's why we don't, that's not part of our policy. Pass rate's not part of our policy. I think that our official position is that we encourage faculty to encourage their students to take a review course. I mean, the capstone course helps with some of that because, it is, it's implicit that there's elements of review of content that students may not have had for a year and a half or 2 years or some cases even longer, which helps, but it's not relative to exam prep. I would say, there's opportunities, to go ahead and encourage students to take a review course. Some institutions offer them themselves. They don't register them with us, but they offer them. And that can be a great way to attract alumni. There's lots of great review courses out there now that we don't recommend one or another, but I definitely think it definitely makes sense. You say different guidance. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I think that exam prep or review course makes a lot of sense, regardless of the program type or delivery method. So thank you very much for attending. Again, share this with colleagues, and if you need anything from the department, you have our email address there. And the best wishes for those of you that are finishing the term, and for those of you that are not. And I hope to talk with you soon. Have a great day.